my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got a review to share with you guys. Today we are going to be talking about Good Omens, and Good Omens is an Amazon original that is currently streaming on Amazon Prime. It started streaming on Friday, May 31st, 2019, in case you're watching this from the future. And you guys, it's so good. I have been counting down the months till this show came out. I've been anticipating it for years, and I am happy to say that, at least for me personally, my expectations were totally met. For anyone who is unfamiliar, Good Omens was originally a novel that was released in 1990, and it was written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. The full title of the book was Good Omens, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Angus Nutter Witch. And I read this book when I was a teenager, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I've reread it a few times since then, and it's just a story that is so well written, so funny, so silly, so strange that it's left a lasting impact on me. So we're gonna get into the show a little bit. For the first little bit, there's gonna be no spoilers. I don't wanna ruin anything for anybody if you've come here just to see what my thoughts are. So I'll give you a warning before we get into spoiler territory. That way, those of you who don't want the spoilers can jump on out of here, and then the rest of us can talk about the ending. One thing I loved about this was that Neil Gaiman wrote the screenplay for the show, which is very obvious when you're watching it. He is splattered all over it, and he has brought with him that beautiful humor and cleverness that Terry Pratchett brought to the novel. Terry Pratchett unfortunately passed away before this was able to be released. He died in 2015, I'm pretty sure, and so that's unfortunate that he didn't get to see it come to life, but he championed for it, and I think he would have really loved it. So the basic premise of the story are an angel and a demon have an unlikely friendship here on Earth, and Armageddon is coming, and they've kind of grown accustomed to life on Earth. The demon's name is Crowley. He's got a beautiful black Bentley and a very modern minimalist apartment with lots of beautiful plants that he likes to yell at. The angel Aziraphale, he runs a bookstore, or owns a bookstore filled with many old antique books, and they don't really want the apocalypse to come. They don't want Earth to be destroyed. They like it here. They're comfortable here. So the show starts off with this sort of chaotic baby switching. So at the beginning of the show, it's 11 years prior to the present day portion of the show, which is the bulk of it. And the demon Crowley, he's come and he has with him a baby in a picnic basket, and he's going to a birthing hospital that's run by satanic nuns. There, the nuns have been awaiting the arrival of a couple, an American diplomat and his wife, who were scheduled to come and have their baby at this hospital so that they could switch the babies. They're going to take the actual baby and give this baby that Crowley's bringing. This baby is the son of Satan. He is the Antichrist. And they're going to switch the babies, and that way the American diplomat can take the baby, because he's currently living in London. All of this takes place in London. And they can keep an eye on the baby, and then 11 years, when the baby's 11 years old, it's going to be time for the apocalypse to start. So they're going to keep an eye on him, and then when it's time, they'll know where he is. They'll be able to get it all worked out. It'll all be perfect. So the Americans arrive, and she's in labor. And then while that's happening, but before Crowley arrives, another couple comes. And they're also having their baby, and they're a local couple, and they kind of just made it to the hospital. And the nuns are kind of like, you're not supposed to be here. But of course they take them, and both of the babies are being born. And then when Crowley arrives, one of the nuns sends him to the wrong room, and instead of switching the baby with the Americans, he switches the baby with the local family. Nobody really knows that this has happened, that the wrong baby was switched. So the Americans, they take their baby, and of course they're being watched for 11 years. And what's going to happen on the 11th birthday of the child is that a hellhound is going to be released, and the hound is going to find the boy, and the boy is going to take a liking to it because it's a dog and it's an 11-year-old boy. That's a match made in heaven. And then once the hellhound and the boy have bonded, that's when Armageddon is set to begin. So throughout the life of the American diplomat's son, Crowley and Aziraphale, they keep close. They find ways to insert themselves into the family, and they're both making sure they're constantly around so that they can both have an influence on the child. The 11th birthday comes, and they're waiting for the hellhound to arrive. And he never does. And it's then that they realize that this is not the Antichrist. This is not the right child. Meanwhile, we get to see the other child, whose name was Adam, and he was taken home by the local family. And he seems like a sweet boy. He's very adventurous. He loves to spend time with his friends and use his imagination. We see him reach his 11th birthday, and while he's out in the woods with his friends, a dog shows up. And we realize that that is the hellhound, and the hellhound has found its rightful owner. So from there, a lot of things are happening. But before we get into any more of that, I just need to take a minute and talk about how amazing the cast is. As the Demon Crowley, we have David Tennant, who is A+, such a fantastic actor. When my husband and I started watching Doctor Who, he was the doctor that we started with, and that always kind of sticks with you and has a special place in your heart. And just because of that, I will always have a soft spot for him. But he's been in so many things. He was in Broadchurch, he was fantastic. He was in Jessica Jones as Kilgrave, he was fantastic. And in this, he is absolutely perfect. He's so good. There's something so cool about David Tennant, something so fun to watch. Just his whole body, the way he moves, the way he sits, the way he talks. It's very intriguing and very fun to watch. Then as the angel Aziraphale, we had Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen is one of my favorites as well. He is so good, and again, he is perfect as this. Although I heard them talking in an interview, and Michael Sheen had been tied to the show long before they started filming and before the other actors had come into it, and he had originally been set to play Crowley. But then him and Neil realized that Michael Sheen is no Crowley, and he isn't. He is perfect as Aziraphale. There's something so sweet and innocent about Michael Sheen, even just Michael Sheen's face, his eyes, there's something that's just so pure to it, but yet there's that little sparkle that gives you that little thought that there's something more in there, and it just works perfect as Aziraphale. And then, you guys, out of nowhere comes John Hamm as the angel Gabriel, and he's just so good. And if you've read the book, which I would highly suggest you read the book, the series and the book stick very close together. Very close. I loved that. And I mean, of course it would. It was written as well by Neil Gaiman. But I was wondering, like, how much would they change? There are bits here and there that are different because there's just going to be. Because how something can be written and how something can be filmed is sometimes just different. And so there are differences, but not many. But one is that the Archangel Gabriel, he's not a huge character in the book, but in the show they make him much more so. And John Hamm, I mean, who doesn't love John Hamm? I loved Mad Men. That was one of my favorite shows when it aired. And he's just great. He's so good. And in this, the angel Gabriel, he's kind of like the go-between between God and Aziraphale. He's kind of like one of God's representatives who Aziraphale deals with. And very funny. He's that boss that we've all had at some point that's just a lot to deal with, you know, and when you walk away from him, you're usually rolling your eyes. He just plays that kind of character, and it's so fun. And they've given him purple contacts for this, and I love it. I love it. Also, we've got some great cameos. Nick Offerman is in it as the American diplomat. Benedict Cumberbatch voices the devil in episode 1 and episode 6. And it's just great. It's just great. There's so many fun cameos. And that's what I'll say about this show, is it's a lot of fun. It's a little campy, no doubt, but it's intentionally campy. It's campy, it's funny, it's touching. In some ways, it's kind of a really stark look at humanity and the nature of humanity. So, to pick up again with a bit of the plot, from there you have so many other characters, and we get a lot of really beautiful flashback scenes. I also read in an interview that they were done filming this about 2 years ago, but there's so much to be added with the CGI effects and whatnot, because so many time periods throughout history are touched upon, even like the beginning of the world, and then just through the ages, Shakespearean times, 1400s, so many different time periods, and it's just all so beautifully done. And there's something so animated about it, about all of it, about the acting, about the storytelling, about the CGI effects, and that just makes it so fun as well. So like I said, we meet a ton of characters along the way. We meet witchfinders and witches, and we meet the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and those are of course war and famine and death. But in this story, because it's more current times, petulance has been changed. Petulance has retired, and the 4th horseman is now pollution, which is very fitting for a more modern times. And so they are coming, and they are getting together, and they are going to be meeting up with the child on an army base. And so it's a lot of the 2 angels trying to stop the apocalypse, because like I said, they've kind of grown accustomed to Earth. They don't really want it to end. And the angel side, they want the war to happen because they want to win. And the demons want the war to happen because they just love the destruction and the terror of it all. So it's just this angel and this demon trying to not let that happen. So that is the general premise of the show. Another cameo that shows up throughout is it's narrated by the voice of God, and that is voiced by Frances McDermott, and she is just wonderful. Her voice is so lovely, and it's so fun to hear her tell us so many things. I just loved it, and I loved all of it. In case you haven't noticed already. Is it gonna be for everyone? No, it's probably not gonna be for everyone, but I feel like if you know what you're going into and you're ready to just strap in and have a lot of fun, I think you'll love it. There's nothing offensive about it. There's nothing, you know, there's some mild language, but you know, as long as you're not watching it with your very small children, you should be fine. And like I said, the acting is top notch. So I give it 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. I really don't even have anything to complain about. I saw one review. I try not to watch reviews before I'm gonna do a review, but I did see one where the guy was talking about how he thought some of the CGI looked a little cheesy. And there are definitely moments, but to me that was intentionally done, I think. I mean, I'm sure it had a lower budget. You know, it's not a Marvel movie. It's a Amazon Prime TV show, but to me, the animation that was really campy was intentionally that way. Like when you'd see an explosion and it looked very fake. To me, that was more of a style choice than like something accidentally done wrong, you know what I mean? Or done wrong because they didn't have the budget. So we'll talk quickly about the ending, and so if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to jump away. And if you're leaving, thank you so much for watching. And if you're staying, let's get on into it. So the final episode kind of brings us, all of the main characters, to this army base, this US army base in England. And you know, the gang's all there. The four horsemen are there. Adam, the 11-year-old who's the Antichrist, is there. Crowley's there. Aziraphale's there, as well as a few other characters that we met along the way that I'm not going to get into too much here, just because that would make that review way too long. So they're all there, things are getting ready to go down, and what happens is the children, because here's the thing, if the Antichrist is going to be inside of a child, children have so much more at their disposal than we do, because they have really vivid imaginations. And that's kind of the key here, this final key to putting a stop to the apocalypse. And it's that Adam and his three friends approach head on these horsemen of the apocalypse and simply tell them that they don't believe in them. They don't believe in them. And they're able to banish all three of them except for Death, because Death backs off, but he doesn't, you know, Death can never go away. Death is the shadow of creation, I think is the way that it's worded, and I love that. So he leaves, but so yeah, they're able to find their strengths in what makes them children. And then Adam comes face to face with Satan, and how he is able to defeat him is Satan, you know, says, "You're my son, you're such a disappointment because you're not evil enough." And Adam just kind of looks him right in the eye and tells him, "You're not my real dad. My dad is my real dad. You're not it." And that kind of makes him, takes the power away from him. And the next thing we know, Adam's dad is driving up to the base, and he gets out and he's like, takes Adam home, where he is grounded. So that's kind of how the apocalypse is avoided. Then there's just some really great scenes after that with Crowley and Aziraphale. One thing that was a little different, and I'm guessing they kind of did it to leave the door open for a season 2, because the book ends with Crowley and Aziraphale sitting on a bench and talking about how the things that had been destroyed of theirs were now put back together. Like at one point, Aziraphale's bookstore catches on fire and Crowley's Bentley gets completely destroyed. And now that the apocalypse has been avoided, kind of everything has been restored. They have their bookstore and their car back. And then that's kind of where it ends for them, whereas the show goes on and there's this really, really fun scene. And in that scene, what's happening is Crowley and Aziraphale have both gone back to their respective, you know, head offices, heaven and hell, and they're about to be punished for what they've done. And what they've done is, of course, stop the apocalypse. So for Crowley, he's going to be put in a bath of holy water, which will kill him. And for Aziraphale, he is being made to walk into a hellfire, and that will kill him. And they're not too stressed about it, you know. Crowley's like, "Can I take off my jacket? This is new, I don't want to ruin it." And Aziraphale just calmly walks in. Crowley hops in the tub. Nothing happens to either of them. And then they kind of use that as a way to scare, kind of freak out their bosses. And then they say, "How about you leave us alone from now on?" And so they can go back down to Earth. So the next thing we see, we're down there, and then they switch back, because a demon, of course, can change them. So it was Aziraphale inside of Crowley's body who went into the bath of holy water, and Crowley and Aziraphale's body who walked into the hellfire. And then that's kind of the end for them. And then they have a little chat back on that bench. Crowley kind of mentions how he doesn't think that they're done with him, how this might have been one war that was averted, but the real war is going to be sort of an us versus them, meaning the angels and demons versus the humans, and he fears that will be coming soon. So that kind of leaves the door open for season 2. Then we get to see Adam out having fun with his friends. And happy endings for everyone. And it was a lovely show. It was so well done, so beautifully shot. The acting was spectacular. I am 100% pleased with how this turned out. And I couldn't have hoped for better. As such a beloved piece of work, I was worried that I had my hopes too high, that I was too excited for it, that it couldn't live up to it, but it did. It did. And I would recommend it. I would recommend it to anyone who loved the book. I would recommend it to anyone, even if you've never heard of the book, give it a watch. And if you like the show, definitely check out the book. So I think that's going to do it for me for today, you guys. I just wanted to hop on and share my thoughts because I just loved it. Anyway, if you've watched it, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Or if you've read the book, did you love it? Did you not like it? It's not going to be for everyone. You know, just like anything. But, yeah, if this sounds interesting, I think you'd like it. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you on Friday with another book talk video. Bye, guys.